All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the broadcast. This hangout is going to be about why pro choice is pro abortion. I get this all the time, and people say, What's a pro abort?" Or they'll say something like, "Well, I'm not pro abortion," or "You confusing pro choice with pro abortion." Well, that's just a bunch of crap. All right. First of all, it's by definition untrue because pro, the prefix pro word, means in support of slash in favor of. If you are in favor for legalized abortion or making abortion legal, then by definition you are pro abortion. It's really that simple. That's like the most basic, simple definition of it. But beyond that, there's other reasons why it also applies. Like for example, around the times to where oppressive slavery was legal in the United States in colonial times, would it have made sense to say, well, I'm not pro slavery, like, you have that right and choice to own a slave and you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to take that right away from you legally. I'm not going to advocate that you should be able to legally own a slave. So I'm, pro choice, not pro slavery. That sort of logic and rhetoric is stupid. Applying that to oppressive slavery, and it's dumb applying it to abortion. Because for the both of the same logical reasons, they start off with the premise that a slave is some excuse me, I clear my throat here. But anyway, they start off with the assumption that the person that was enslaved, the blacks in this context, were not persons at all and just could be owned like property. They were dehumanized. They started off with that premise in their arguments. That was the assumption in their reasoning. And the same assumption exists when they make these arguments on abortion. They assume that there is no person or there is no human being or a state of dehumanization or no intrinsic rights. There's a lot of assumptions made when that point is argued. Pro-choice is in fact pro-abortion logically, and it's by definition pro-abortion. Nobody would argue or would buy the argument that one is not pro-rape but should be able to legally be able to rape. Well, I'm not personally pro-rape, but you should have the legal right to be able to rape. Although I'm not gonna, take that legal right away from you. Speaking hypothetically, it's stupid. It's just a terrible argument, and I challenge anyone to come up in here and prove why pro-choice is not pro-abortion. I don't really think there's any way you can actually refute the points that I just gave, but I mean, who claim to be pro-choice are more than welcome to come in here and try. I'm probably going to be holding this hangout for about the next 2 hours or so, maybe a little less. I don't have a whole lot of time today because I got Bible study later tonight and I got to go out of town. But I still got a little bit of time to, just get a little conversation started and see if anyone want to come in here and challenge my point, challenge my assertion. Submit that pro-choice is in fact pro-abortion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link in the side chat. Those who want to come in can access it there. So here we go. Link in the side chat. Let's see. Yeah. Stop using this bad argument because that's what it is. It's a stupid argument. I mean, and even if you could successfully prove that pro-choice was not pro-abortion, that would like do literally absolutely nothing to justify the quote unquote pro-choice position. I think the pro-abort or the pro-choice or whatever they want to call themselves is left in just an entirely indefensible position. I mean, they can successfully defend against certain points and still be left with an untenable position. Ultimately, the ultimate thing that they're unable to justify is just the fact that we should have a legal right to kill unborn children for personal convenience, for sole personal convenience. So I don't want to hear this garbage that pro-choice is not pro-abortion. It is entirely pro-abortion. Now, let's see. Well, while I wait for anybody to come in, like I posted the link in the side chat there. While we wait for anybody to come in, I'm just going to give a few arguments or a few more arguments as to why that whole notion is stupid. Number one, I think if you are going to engage in sex, if you dead set on having sex, but at the same time you don't want to risk the chance of pregnancy happening, then there should be a vasectomy done or tubes tied or have your reproductive system removed. I mean, it's really that simple. And then people will turn around and be like, well, maybe I want to possibly have children in the future. And it's just one of those things to where it's like they want the option open. They want that door open to still be able to legally kill. Well, I may want to have children in the future, but I don't want abortion to be illegal either. Like, if you want to leave that door open, you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to have the risk. I mean, you want to engage in the activity of sex without having to deal with the responsibility and the risk. Because if you can just simply go get an abortion if you're a woman, there's really no real risk involved, other than the fact that someone else or you may have to spend a little money. But other than that, there's really no risk involved if abortion is on the table. Why am I so relentless in this fight? I am so relentless in this fight because I don't believe in killing children point blank. I think it's an absolute disgrace that people attempt to justify killing unborn children. And they do it with all sorts of rhetoric and saying that, oh, I'm pro choice, not pro abortion. That's one of the lines of rhetoric that they use. Quite often, I have a hangout like this open, and then people will be talking a bunch of crap in the side chat, but they won't come in here and actually discuss it and tell me why I'm wrong. And I mean, I guess I should actually, in a sense, take that as a compliment because the fact of the matter is, if they don't have the courage to come in here and defend their nonsense, then then chances are they are aware of how weak their argument is. And they can't say it's because, I don't give them a chance to speak or I don't moderate fairly because that's an absolute lie. I have, in the short time I've been here on G Plus, I have a solid reputation in being a fair person and letting people talk and people getting their points across. So they can't use that reasoning. That's definitely not it. They don't want to come in here because they know they're not going to be able to argue their point. They're not going to be able to back up their nonsense. I've seen just about every pro war argument that you can possibly imagine. And I know how to deal with every last single argument. I mean, there's really no argument that I haven't seen. I mean, if there is any ones that I haven't seen, then maybe a pro board can come in here and present it and try to see if I can deal with it. But I've seen hundreds, maybe even heck, maybe even thousands of pro board arguments, and none of them are good. Not a single one of them are good. They typically range anywhere from just outright just bad, just outright terrible, to outright just morally deplorable by uh, exploiting certain cases like, say, rape or life saving or life threatening instances to the mother. But none of them are good at all. So, yeah, pro choice absolutely is pro abortion. And I don't really think again any pro board can come up in here and prove otherwise. I would like to see them try. I mean, I'm gonna be here for the next few hours more than likely, so we're gonna see if anybody can come in here and back up their nonsense. The link is in the side chat there. If you are watching this, just click on that and we can have a conversation. But don't BS me about this issue, people. You're not gonna be able to do it. Pro-choice is absolutely pro-abortion. There's so many excuses that pro-aborts make to leave abortion on the table, to leave that door open. It's absolutely pathetic, just to say the least. If I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, pro-life is not anti-abortion. If pro-choice is pro-abortion, then pro-life is anti-abortion. It's really that simple. I'm not gonna be like, well, pro-life. I'm pro-life, not anti-abortion. That's just stupid. there's no way I can be pro-life and not anti-abortion at the same time. And I think the same concept goes for the concept of quote unquote called pro-choice. It may be a little bit before anybody comes in here because this was not an advertised hangout, so it may take a little bit for the viewer count to go up. But anyone who can come in here and back up the claim that pro-choice is actually not pro-abortion. You know, the claim is often made by pro-aborts that if they want to decrease abortions, you know, they advocate for contraception and advocate for pregnancy preventative methods. Here's my thing about that very point. I don't really know too many pro-lifers who would have a problem with contraception as long as the contraception does not cause an abortion. But the problem is that's still beside the point. They're talking about, well, you should be about decreasing or limiting abortions, you know, by getting behind contraception. That's beside the point. The relevant issue is abortion morally wrong? Yes or no? That's the core relevant point. Not these arguments about contraception, not these arguments about why pro-choice isn't pro-abortion and none of this other side nonsense. The real core issue here is abortion morally right or should abortion be morally permissible or not? That's what it comes down to, really simply put. I had a hangout yesterday to where I talked about a number of different distractions that pro-aborts use, like appealing to horrific cases like life-threatening pregnancies and rape, and incest. And another method of distraction is saying that pro-choice is not pro-abortion. You know, there are so many different sorts of arguments of distraction that pro-aborts use. That's one of the top, you know, arguments of distraction, trying to, you know, just sort of disassociate themselves in a way with killing. I'm not pro killing. I'm not saying that all women should get abortions. Or, you know, this type of nonsensical reasoning that they like to use. Because again, that is beside the point. But I just want to deal with that in this hangout. Just want to just stomp that nonsensical crap, that nonsensical argument to the ground for what it is. Because it is nonsensical. It is stupid. I'm going to invite some people up in here. But if you're watching this on the YouTube video, the link is in the side chat there. So yeah, feel free to come in. Let's have a conversation. Give me just a few moments while I put this out to for other people to see. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Now that that's posted, I'm gonna do some more commentary. Or for the time being, let's look up some pro-life news. Let's see here. Um, Actually, I'm going to post this in one more place here. All right, that's done. Yeah, people don't give me this nonsense that pro-choice and pro-abortion. It is. It's. And I don't want to hear any garbage that it isn't. Or at least if you're gonna make the point, actually try to give some sort of an argument behind it. Don't come up in here and give the typical lame talking points. I want to hear arguments, not a bunch of stupid lame talking points and buzzwords and a woman's body, blah 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 blah. I don't. No. You got to do better than that. You got to come more correct than that. I'm fully convinced that abortion is murder. And I'm fully convinced that many people who argue the position will go to desperate lengths to justify it, to keep it legal. I'm fully convinced that they make the discussion way more complicated than it is. And one of the things they try to do to confuse things and make it more complicated is to say that pro choice is not pro abortion. Don't give me that BS. As I said earlier, you wouldn't use that argument against rape. You wouldn't do it. Or I like to think if you are a sensible thinking person, If you have basic common sense, you wouldn't use that argument for rape. Oh, I'm pro rape, or I'm pro choice, not pro rape. No, I wouldn't tell you that you can't rape somebody. I wouldn't take that legal right away from you, but I'm personally not pro rape, but I am pro choice. You should be able to do what you want to do. We hypothetically suppose that rape was legal, but I mean, it's just dumb. It's obvious why it's just a stupid argument. Because when you're talking about abortion, it's not like you're dealing with food, okay? It's not like you're dealing with your favorite, ice cream. Because the thing is about ice cream is that the taste of ice cream and is very subjective, as well as any other food. The taste is very subjective. On top of that, it's sort of like when you're dealing with food like ice cream or something, or like making a decision. You say, what I want to eat what do I want to eat for dinner? Chicken or fish? And it's not that kind of a choice. Do I want to eat chicken or fish for dinner? Either one of those things are totally subjective. But when you're talking about the unborn, it's like they sort of treat it as a choice, like whether you eat, um, whether you kill or don't kill, whether you want to make a choice or not. They sort of treat it in a similar context as eating food, which you're not really dealing with any sort of moral issue there. I mean, I know you have some people that will argue for not killing animals and whatnot, but for the most part, people don't tend to, have an issue with eating chicken or fish for dinner. Most people don't. At least in my lifetime, I haven't come across a lot of people who would see that as an issue. But a lot of people would immediately try to distance themselves away when they say, I mean, not distance themselves away, but try to make a quick distinction as to where, like, abortion is a choice, but I mean, I guess it's, yeah, and in a way, they'll concede. They'll be like, well, I guess in a way, you're correct that abortion isn't a choice in the same way whether to eat chicken or fish for dinner, but I still think it should be legal, though. That's what I get most of the time. Just because something is a choice doesn't mean that it's a choice in the same sort of way. I mean, even trying to say that abortion is a choice, they will immediately acknowledge most of the time that it's not a choice in the same way as you choosing to eat pizza or potatoes for dinner or something like that. Eating chicken or fish for dinner, they immediately understand the distinction between those sorts of choices and the choice whether or not to get an abortion, because in many sorts of ways they'll try to um you know want to stick by legal support of the position, but they don't want to attach themselves to the position to where they'll say stuff like, well, maybe we can de- work on decreasing abortion, or maybe um we shouldn't, allow abortions after a certain period, or maybe we should, get to a point to where abortions aren't being used for birth control. They'll do all sorts of things to try to distance themselves away. from abortion. Let's see, I'm getting a comment on somewhere I posted this video. He said, someone says you would benefit from a script or at least an outline of points you want to cover. Well, I appreciate the constructive criticism, but I do my own thing. I just kind of do it off the cuff. That's just, what I prefer. Everybody has a different, style, and that's my personal style. I'll just tell them that I appreciate the constructive criticism, but I prefer doing things off the cuff. I like I'll just leave it at that. I just prefer doing things off the cuff. There's no really need for me to add to that. Let's see here. I'm getting a message in my G Plus. Still waiting for people to come up in here, but nobody's came in. Posted the link in a few places, and nobody's come in. I know people are watching the chat. I know people are watching. I should say the YouTube video because I see my viewer count going up. First, it wasn't that many. Now I got up to 5 viewers. The first started off was like only 1, but now it's up to 5. So I know, the count is going up and people are looking at this. So and the link is in the side chat. It's not like it ain't there. If need be, I'll post it again. But I hope to really build this channel and make it much, much bigger. So I'll get more people to come in quicker and to see it faster. I know it's going to take time to grow this, but I am very, very hopeful in seeing a huge explosion in the reach of this channel over the next month or two. That's my goal. Because right now I have around 80 subscribers. I hope by the end of this year, I can clear 500. So that's about a little over 6 months to clear 500 subscribers. I hope I can reach that goal by the end of this year. But yeah, if you have a different opinion, if you identify as pro-choice, then feel free to come in here. Feel free to argue that pro-choice is actually not pro-abortion. I've heard a number of different counter arguments to this claim, and they'll say, well, again, it's like the point I just brought up. They'll say, like, well, if I choose to eat ice cream or have a brownie, that's a choice that I make. I am not advocating that anyone else have to eat a brownie or ice cream. Heck, even I don't have to eat a brownie or ice cream, but you should have the right to make that decision. But when you show them why that's such a bad comparison to where, whether you're dealing with life or death of the unborn is clearly not in the same realm as what dessert you want to eat. They'll be like, yeah, I see your point, but I'm still pro-choice. I don't think it's something that anyone besides the woman, the pregnant woman, and her doctor should be involved in. Or then they'll try to appeal to like, well, I'm not really comfortable with the government making moral decisions on women's bodies. They'll try to take it from sort of a pseudo libertarian type view when there's a fairly large population of libertarians against abortion. You really can't put you really can't use that sort of libertarian, that pseudo libertarian argument, government argument, because when you're dealing with the issue of dehumanizing life, taking rights away without due process, that is absolutely something the government should be involved in. I mean, there is a role of government. The role of government should be to protect rights, not to make rights. The role of government should be to protect rights, and you have pro-choicers, or as I actually think they are, pro-aborts, will try to twist the issue and be like, well, they'll use their arguments to dehumanize, to depersonalize, if that's an issue, if that's even a word, to just devalue the unborn in so many ways, to act like that's not a person with rights or a valuable entity that you're dealing with there. They try to just take them out of the picture altogether and just center it upon the woman's choices. And then in that aspect, by doing that, they think they've successfully made an argument that the government should be involved. Well, before you can make that argument, you first got to, back up your foundation, your premises, that the unborn is not a human or not a person, or if you do acknowledge, it's a human and a person, that don't mean it should have a right to. Still got to give arguments for those. You still got to back that point up before you can build to the other point that government shouldn't be involved in controlling women's bodies. The thing is, if you can successfully back up your point that abortion, you know, isn't morally wrong and shouldn't be legal, if you could successfully back that up or make a case for that, then I'd be in full agreement with you that the government shouldn't be involved in that decision at all. But until you can successfully make that argument, I mean, I'm not going to take your whole point about the government shouldn't be involved seriously. There was I mean, here's the thing. There was clearly government involvement in ending oppressive slavery in colonial times, and here in the United States, clearly the government was involved. So, I mean, you have times to where it's good for the government to be involved, appropriate times, I should say, for the government to be involved, and inappropriate times for the government to be involved. The government's role is to protect rights, not to make them. Uh, Pro-choice is absolutely is pro-abortion. It's pro it's pro-abortion for the same. I'm not pro-choice, not pro-rape. You can't make that argument because clearly people recognize the wrongness and the horrific nature of rape and they see the fallacy there. And it's the same fallacy in abortion. And the thing is, I can actually back up my assertion that it's the same thing. It's not just me asserting that killing the unborn is wrong and abortion should not be is not morally permissible, nor should it be legally allowed. It's not me just asserting that. I can actually back that up. There's a common test called SLED, SLED. The first letter in the acronym S, that means size. Size does not justify whether the unborn or whether anyone, for that matter, should have rights or not. Like, for example, an infant is going to be smaller of size than an adult, but nobody would make the argument that merely the size of the unborn should, be the indicator, or the newborn, I should say, the size of the newborn infant should be an indicator as to a difference of rights to where the newborn or the adult should have a right to live. Nobody would be like, well, an infant is smaller than an adult, so an infant shouldn't have the right to live. That's just nonsense. I mean, it's just common sense, and I think most people can see that. So size does not determine whether you know we have the right, not to be killed without due process. The next letter in the acronym is location. L. Where you at doesn't determine whether you should have the right to life slash the right not to be killed without due process. The location doesn't mean anything. If I go from California to New York, I went from one side of the country to another. Does that mean that me changing location means that somebody should be able to just take my life without due process? Of course not. The only thing that changed is my location and state laws. That's the only thing that changed. But right not to be, my right to life slash my right not to be killed without due process definitely didn't change, and my location change didn't affect that principle at all. Surely the location doesn't, determine your worth or rights or whatever. And the next step is E, the next letter in the word, the, the acronym SLED, E, which means environment. Your environment certainly does not determine your whether you should have, the right not to be killed without due process slash the right to life. That the environment doesn't determine anything. Um, I could be in an environment that tends to be more violent than another, like say a rundown ghetto. That environment is definitely going to more likely be more violent than, let's say, a suburban area. The conditions in that environment are going to be different when you're looking at those two sorts of places. When you're looking at those two environments, those conditions are clearly going to be different. But Neither environment determines anything. It doesn't determine whether I shouldn't have the whether I should or shouldn't have the right not to be killed without due process. So that's right to life. And the last letter in the acronym, D, the degree of dependency. Certainly, the degree of dependency should not, be a determining factor in rights either, because I mean, an infant is going to be more dependent upon someone to take care of them than an adult, or most adults, for example, I should say. But that degree of dependency does not determine their worth or non-worth or anything like that. It's not a rights indicator or lack thereof. Probable arguments fail all four tests of SLED, and for one of many reasons, is insufficient to argue their position. Size, level of development, environment, degree of dependency. None of those things justify abortion. None of those things indicate rights or lack thereof. You gotta have a better argument than those points, than the appeal to any of those 4 points. The overwhelming majority of pro-abortion arguments fall under one of those 4 letters of the acronym SLED. I don't really know too many, if any at all, probe arguments that didn't fall under that acronym. I've had this hang open for maybe close to an hour now. Still, no pro boards have entered into here to argue their position. Let's see. Somebody shared the link to this hang, so I appreciate that. But you know what, man? If pro boards were really confident in the moral argument for their position, they would not even mind being, associated with being pro-abortion. It would not even bother them. And I've actually come across a few pro-aborts who did not have a problem with being called pro-abortion. It's a rarity to come across these people, but they do exist. But they try so hard to disassociate themselves from the worst parts of abortion while at the same time protecting it legally. They'll even say things like, well, nobody loves abortion and blah, 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 which is patently false. You can just do a quick Google search on the internet and find, all sorts of radical feminists saying that they love abortion and abortion on demand without apology. It's really not uncommon to find, you know, these sorts of people who do, in fact, love abortion and say that, they are not ashamed of it in any way. For a while, there's been activism from pro aborts to want free abortion on demand without apology. I mean, just listen to that. Free abortion on demand without apology. I mean, how could that be anything other than pro abortion right there? Like, I mean, talking about free abortion on demand without apology. I mean, how would that happen? That would have to happen by taxpayer money. I mean, unless Planned Parenthood is going to use their billions of dollars to pay for them, and that's definitely not going to happen. Free abortion on demand without apology. That's an immediate hit to taxpayer money, to taxpayer pockets. And I hear all the time pro-aborts pointing to the Hyde Amendment and whatnot. Like, dude, the Hyde Amendment keeps federal dollars from paying for abortions and blah, 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 blah. Well, fine, but that certainly doesn't stop a substantial amount of pro-aborts from making the argument that abortion should be on demand and free and without apology. I don't hear hardly any pro-aborts complaining about people fighting for free abortion on demand without apology. You don't hardly ever hear any complaints about pro-aborts advocating for those things. What do you typically hear about? You hear about how pro-lifers are allegedly, not for born children, or they quickly abandon born children. Should the mother choose life? Well, you're not really and that's just another stupid argument. But again, it's just another way to distract and not deal with the core issue. Should abortion be legally permissible? Actually, no, no, no. It's like this. Is abortion should abortion be morally permissible or not? And I'm arguing that abortion is absolutely not morally permissible and therefore should not be allowed into having any kind of legal protections. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to take care of something real quick, and I'll be back in just a minute. All right, I'm back. Let me see if I can get anybody in here. I mean, I've been running maybe I'm just running at the wrong time of day. Maybe if I would have ran this broadcast a little later tonight, which that's probably what I have to do. I'll probably have to run the broadcast later tonight to see if anybody will come in. I was hoping to get some money in here, but you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait about, I guess, 10, maybe 15 more minutes. See if anybody will come in here. Let me take care of something just real quick. Somebody said go off air and they'll chat with me. You know what? I'm not gonna play this game. If you aren't don't have the courage to come in here and talk to me on air, then I'm not gonna waste my time with you because that seems to be shady to me. I'm definitely not gonna waste my time doing that crap. So, Mr. Jim Barak, don't waste my time with that nonsense. If you don't want to talk to me on air, then don't waste my time even coming over here. So I appreciate your comment, but I'm not gonna deal with that crap. Come in here, be an adult, and have an adult conversation. I'm not gonna deal with that nonsense. All right, I'll be right back in a sec. All right, I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna let's see here. About 12 more minutes or so. I'm gonna just cut this broadcast off air because apparently I just did this at the wrong time. I mean, at the current time, I don't have the subscriber count to just get a ton of people in here whenever I want to around the clock. But I'm definitely going to probably do a part two later on tonight, and I might be able to get more people in here. Let's see. Somebody on Facebook was trying to post it to other groups. Um, I'll give them permission, sure. Maybe that'll get a few people in here before I cut it off. So, let me see, what can I do here? From I've pretty much made my points, and hmm, hmm. I pretty much said what I wanted to say, but hmm, I don't really think there's much more I can add. I guess all I can do is just wait to see if anybody will come in here. Um, Hold on a sec. I'm getting another comment from somewhere on Facebook here. Hold on. All right, I'm back. I think this video is actually going to be spread to a few more places on Facebook to see if anybody's going to come in here. Yeah, I've been sitting here for over an hour just waiting for people to come in and nothing. Either people just, don't have the cojones to come in here, or I'm doing it at the wrong time, or my subscriber count ain't high enough, or it could be any number of different things. We'll see. I've been dealing with these sorts of nonsensical arguments for a long time. I've been, actively dealing with these stupid arguments for probably about 13, 14 years now. Actually, no, maybe even longer than that. I'm 30 years old now. So I started when I was about 14, so 16 years. So I've seen just about every argument you can think of. There's nothing new that can surprise me at all. I have a ton of arguments that pro boards haven't even seen. I can The thing that a lot of pro boards hate about me, especially on Facebook, is that I constantly come up with these arguments that throw them off guard that they haven't heard before. And much of the time, I can use their own premises against them. I really, really like and take great pleasure in giving arguments that they cannot deal with. I mean, the basic pro life arguments are very, very good, but it's really, really interesting to see when they can't deal with your arguments that they haven't heard before. I may do another video on that some other time, but for tonight or for this afternoon, right now, I'm just seeing if anybody's going to come in here and back up their position that pro-choice is not pro-abortion. The hangout's been going on for over an hour, and I'm gonna give it about 5 more minutes or so before I kill the broadcast, and then I may end up doing a part 2 tonight to where more people will be off work and things like this, and more people will be readily available, and we'll see if we'll get more exposure. I'm probably more likely to get more exposure by later tonight. So I'm gonna give it about 5 more minutes. I'm going to continue to be doing hangouts like this, continuing to put the challenges out there to bring it to the pro abort community. And I want this channel to get as much attention as possible. All the kids, somebody just said, all the kids just got out of school. Yeah, that could be a contributing issue to why my viewer count isn't as high. You know, but I mean, it's. I guess it depends on where you live, but for most places, it's summer vacation, so it's not like that. I mean, uh, it depends. I mean, maybe you got like, some kids in summer school, but I mean, that's not really affect. That's not really the reason why. Um, my viewer count isn't as high as I'd like it to be. I mean, the fact is, my channel is pretty small now, so um, I just started doing this about what I want to say month, 2 months, 2.5 months ago, probably a little longer than that. I started doing hangouts like this, and I understand that all channels naturally start off small, and you gotta put the work in to grow them. So I gotta pay my dues. The other night, I had a solid viewer count, and I did it at night. So it may seem to be the case that I'll have to start doing more of these hangouts at night to increase the chance of getting the most exposure. But I mean, there have been nights to where I've done really, really good and getting viewer counts and views, and there are times to where people still wouldn't come in the room and argue their point. But I'm confident as I keep putting these videos out and keep putting them in front of people that it's going to get to a point to where I'm going to be exposed so much that people aren't going to be able to just um, because I do in fact intend to do so many of these hangouts that I basically can be able to get viewers at any time of the day. You got people who can put up a video at 3 o'clock in the morning and get people to come see their videos. That's the type of growth I want to see on this channel, because I'm interested, not just interested, it is my personal mission to be an advocate for life. I say all the time that I believe in the words of Jesus Christ: what you have done for the least of these, you have done for me. And we have a culture infected with this nonsense of abortion, this selfish mindset, this sick, twisted argumentation, this sick paradigm about it's all about me. It's all about what I want. It's all about my immediate gratification. And I'm here to be an annoying sort of counter voice against that sort of thinking to justify them killing the unborn. I'm getting comments on Facebook and feedback saying people don't want to come in here because I'm being rude and disrespectful. Whatever. I don't care about your feelings, folks. I really don't give a crap, honestly. This is something else that's laughable. This feelings-based argument. You hurt my feelings. I don't care about your feelings. I don't cater to your sensitivities for justifying killing unborn children. I don't care. It is that stupid thinking that motivates me to fight even harder and longer to be a voice to protect these unborn children, these our unborn brothers and sisters, these babies, just being mercilessly slaughtered by the thousands every single day. On average, about 2,500 to 3,000 abortions in the United States alone happen every single day. It's just disgusting. There is another way, there's a better way. Apparently, this issue about contraception, you know, trying to say, well, you should get behind contraception or whatnot. Well, if this issue about contraception was working, then you wouldn't be seeing the averages of abortions from 2,500 to 3,000 per day. We wouldn't be seeing these averages happening. What they say about contraception was that great or that effective. We wouldn't be seeing these averages. But then again, if we decrease it from 2,500 to 3,000, we decrease it to 1,500 to 2,000 or 500 to 1,000. It's still too many. It's still too many, and it's beside the point. It's not merely about decreasing abortions, it's about the fact that abortion is morally wrong. Would you be like, well, I just want to decrease rape? No, no, no. You should not even want rape to even be legal, and it's not in the United States. It's not a matter of really decreasing it. It's not merely a matter of decreasing trafficking, like kidnapping and trafficking and things like that. It's not merely a matter of decreasing these things. These things are horrific and these things are illegal. But the only argument that would separate those things, the only difference between those things and abortion is the fact that abortion is legal and child trafficking and kidnapping are not. It's literally the only difference. Because if I only did a couple of things like make child trafficking and whatnot illegal, make it legal and then put a stamp on it to say that, it should be a rights issue, but we should keep it low. Those are literally the only sorts of things I would have to do for it to be exactly the same principle as abortion. Just make it legal, attach a few stamps to it, and bam, you have the exact same argument. Let's keep child kidnapping, trafficking low. Let's keep it decreased, but let's not make it illegal. It's a stupid argument. That is the reason why just mere decreasing of abortions is a stupid argument. Yes, it's good that lesser children die, but it's not good that you argue that, well, less children died, so yeah, therefore abortion should still be legal. That's dumb. One person, one child killed without due process is too many. And I hear this dumb argument that we are a rape culture. But you know what culture we are. We are a murder culture. We justify murdering unborn children. We try to pretend they're not even children, they don't exist, and they aren't worthy of our protections. We are a murder culture. See, John the naturalist says, of course, pro choice equals pro abortion. It would be like saying pro capital punishment isn't pro killing. Yeah, I agree. Tika, well, what's up?
Hey,
I haven't like talked to you in voice chat like ever. It's good to see you. How you doing?
fine. No, this is a live thing. I'll explain later. Hey, you.
Oh, it's good to talk to you for the first time. I was just about to kill this broadcast because wasn't nobody coming up in here.
All right, you hear that in the background? Give me 1 second.
All right, take your time.
All right. Hey, what's the matter, Mom? Hold on, let me see if I can turn this video on. Give me a second.
Okay.
Get off my phone. All right. Allow and remember. Can you see me yet?
Not yet.
Hold on. Turn it on.
There's a camera icon you have to click.
Here I am.
Okay, now I can see you. What's up? Let me show you my face real quick. What's up?
Hey, you.
Hey, how you doing?
Say hi.
Hi, how are you?
What we talking about today?
Um, we're trying to get pro-abortion to come up in here and back up why pro-choice is not pro-abortion, which we both know that's a flat-out lie.
It's nothing but pro-abortion. Um, just like
Hmm.
just like I wrote on another form that we had. It's not against the law for women to be pregnant. It's not against the law for women to give birth. Um,
Nope.
and there are no restrictions on either. So if you're pro-choice, you're not fighting for a woman to give birth. You're not fighting for a woman to be pregnant. You're not even fighting for a woman to give her child up for adoption. You are fighting for abortion. So pro-choice is pro-abortion.
That's right. And they like to avoid basic logic, like the prefix pro means in favor of
Or
or
for
in support of. I mean, if you justify keeping abortion legal or making abortion legal, then by definition you are pro-abortion. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I think what annoys me are the pro-aborts who are really passive and say, "Oh, I would never have an abortion myself, but I support a woman's right to choose." Well, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So you're still for it. Like if you're standing there and you're seeing somebody getting the crap beat out of them, and you're like, "Oh, I'm against violence, but I'm not going to do anything about it," then you're part of the problem.
That's absolutely correct.
It's as bad as the person that is sitting there committing that crime.
I'm in full agreement with you there. I mean, um, they try to try to, in a sense, see abortion as no different than like eating chicken or fish for dinner. But then you can easily show them why it's not the same kind of choice, and they'll be like, well, all right, I see your point, but I still think a woman should have a right to choose. And then they'll just go back to that sort of talking point logic, buzzword logic. It's just these people just have a level of cognitive dissonance that is just unprecedented to me.
I think I think when people, and that's why they want to keep abortion videos and things like that out of the mainstream, because they can't keep the lie going that it's just a clump of cells or that it's just a glob of tissue. If you actually see what is being aborted, you can't say, okay, I'm not aborting a living human being. You can't do that. So I remember when I wrote on MPLA that women should be shown a video of what they're
Yeah.
about to abort and what exactly is going to happen. Oh my goodness, they darn near lost their minds. Oh, why should we force a rape victim to view this and bring them through? It's called informed consent. Informed consent is
That's
a,
right.
so don't you want to inform them of what they're about to do? Oh
That's
well,
absolutely right.
they say most women know what they're about to do. Okay, so this shouldn't be a problem. It should not be a problem informing them
Exactly.
what they're about to do and what happens. Let them see it, because I know it's a lot of women that I've spoken to who, once they see, but maybe get a glimpse of what they have done after the abortion, not through the informed consent, but after the abortion, they're mortified because they're like,
That's
oh,
right.
I can't believe I did that. So they, a lot of the times, the abortion clinics, especially Planned Parenthood, they'll talk to the woman and they'll say, well, the states wants us to give you this and it's not real information and don't pay any attention to it. And abortion is just as safe as a root canal and you're just aborting a clump of tissue or something like that. But then you have a woman who's thinking this in her mind, because she's in self-denial already when she walks in there. Some of them are in self-denial when they walk in there and they're like, okay, well, I'm just getting rid of this. I can't feel it moving. So it's really not a living thing to me. And then you have that compounded with the lie of the abortion clinic saying, oh, it's just a glob of tissue. And then when that woman comes back and she sees, oh my goodness, I was 3 months pregnant. My baby had arms, legs, a brain, a heartbeat. What type of what type of what does that do to a woman's mind to see what she actually did? And they're talking about there's no depression when it comes to women who have aborted and they have no regrets. But if a woman is lied to and she's told, okay, I'm aborting or killing a non-sentient being that doesn't even resemble anywhere near a human being, and then they find out later that they killed something that looked like a 40-week-old gestational baby at 3 months. that literally has to send them down a mental spiral that they probably will never come back from, and they won't trust anybody ever again. And abortion clinics, they don't want to talk about that. Pro-choice men and women, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the lies that are in that comes out of the pro-choice side.
That's absolutely right. And the thing is, like former abortionist Carol Everett used to be she said that you can't, I can't remember exactly what she said verbatim, but she basically said something to the degree of that you can't deal with death and just like not be affected by it in any sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
This is a woman who, used to be super pro-abortion, but it got to a point to where it just penetrated her soul and she couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And she even admitted, she could, get past a lot of things, and there was a whole lot of egregious cover-ups and just sick crap that happened in her practice. One thing she could not absolutely get past is the fact that she took the life of her own child.
Yeah.
She could not get past it, and she never has been able to deal with it.
And that's where we come in, though, because you have people who are sorry that they had an abortion, but they're not repentant. So they're never going, it's not about just forgiving yourself. You have to come to Christ and you have to repent to Christ. You have to understand what you did was a sin, what you did was wrong. So you're never going to be able to get past it and help other people unless you admit what you did. And that comes through penitence. And that is the only way people like that are going to bring other people out of that situation.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. And the thing is, we need to have better answers for women than abortion. I mean,
What'd you say?
I said we need to have better answers for women than abortion. They try to distract in so many different ways and be like, well, are you for contraception? Are you trying to force a woman to carry and all this other just junk, just stupid freaking appeals?
I love that question. I love when they say that. I love when they call us forced birthers, because no, we're not forced birthers. The abortionist is a forced birther, because I love using literal terms. They hate that. Literally, when they inject digoxin into that fetus or that unborn child, and they force you to go into labor, that's forced birth with a dead child. When you take the Cytotec or I forgot what the other one is named, and they're forcing a miscarriage. They're forcing you to give birth just to a dead baby. So if you want to call somebody a forced birther, call the doctors at the abortion clinics forced birthers, because we cannot literally strap you down and force you to give birth. So stop calling us that. You willingly go to men and women who force you to give birth.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't care if you try to get around the fact that you don't want to carry the birth to full term. I mean, the only thing is abortion is just like forcing the unborn to be born early into a killing state. That's really the only difference.
Exactly.
You giving birth to a dead child is all you're doing.
Exactly. Like when we talk about adoption, they say, well, adoption is an alternative to parenting. It's not an alternative to being pregnant or giving birth. And I said, okay, well, you still give birth. Unless you're having a surgical abortion where they're ripping the baby out of you, 89% of women are having the medical abortion where they give birth. Doesn't matter if you give birth to an embryo. It doesn't matter if you give birth to an embryonic zygote. You're giving birth. They like to use terminology like, oh no, it's just like a miscarriage. It's just a few clumps. You're giving birth to those clumps. It was in your womb. You were pregnant with it. You gave birth to it.
Absolutely. I gotta take care of something real quick. I'll be back in just a sec, Tika.
Okay, you want me to stay on?
Sure, please do.
Okay,
I'm so glad to have you.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my book because I want to talk to you about something that I wrote after watching. You ever see the pro-abortion movie After Tiller?
Actually, I haven't.
You have?
No, I have not. I did
Gotta
not
take-
see that yet.
Let's meet back in 2.
All right, thank you. Yep.
All right. I'm back.
Okay, good to see you again. All right. So, what you had to show me?
Yes. Okay. Now, I think the name of the movie is called After Tiller, and you heard of the late term abortionist Shelley Sella.
Yeah.
All right. This is what, because I had to write it down. I had to write it down. She said, I think for some providers, what's difficult about a third trimester abortion, and not just providers, is that the woman delivers a baby and it's a stillborn, and that's hard to deal with. I think the reason I have struggled is because I think of them as babies. I don't think of that as a fetus. To me, I think of that as a way to distance myself from what I do. I mean, it's one thing when it's a first trimester abortion and what you see is a little bit of tissue. Like that's what you see in a 8 to 12 week abortion, but okay. I'm but if you go all the way to the other extreme, you can't say that's some tissue. That's not tissue, it's a baby. Then you have to think about it. You know, it's what are you doing and why are you doing it? Well, it's inside of the mother and she can't handle it for many, many extremely desperate reasons. Now, I like the wording she used, how she knows it's a baby. She just has no problem killing it. And her reasoning was it's inside the mother and she can't handle it for many, many reasons. Not that there's something wrong with the child or there's something wrong with the mother. She can't handle it.
Yep.
What reasons? I mean, this is from a late term abortionist, and into looking up Shelley Sella, she has had many botched abortions, and many women have been hurt at her own hands. She's one of only two female late term abortionists, because I think there are only 3 or 4 now. But yeah, she's admitting that she's aborting a baby, but her reasoning is because women don't want it or they can't handle it. I don't think that's an excuse. You just can't handle it. So you wait until you're 7, 8 months to, hey, oh, guess what? I can't handle it. That makes absolutely positively no sense.
Absolutely.
That's why it really needs to be criminalized, because even when you have a situation where a child is going to, die soon after birth, which doctors for their best part have guesstimates, and I don't rely on guesstimates when it comes to a living being, but they'll say, okay, well, the child is going to only live a few minutes after birth. Would you not want to hold that child and allow that child to feel the love from you before it passes? Or you're going to say, oh, you know what? You have terminal cancer. Why don't I just come and shoot you in the head right now? So because you're going to die anyway. That is the most idiotic and asinine thing that I've ever heard of in my life.
Exactly, and their ethics are very, very shaky at best, anyway. Because, like you see, in many cases, they have no problem with the end result of abortion, no matter how the procedure is done. It doesn't matter whether it's done by a vacuum sucking machine or by surgical dismemberment or what have you. They don't have no problem as long as the end result is that the pregnancy is terminated. But if you're dealing with a child that's born, then it's all of a sudden different. They don't argue the end result. They'll say it's different than if you were to like unplug a child from a life support machine, or you blasted the child in the head, and then they have shaky ethics. You see, they're all over the place because the same type of ethics they argue, they would argue against for a born child. They would magically think it's different when the child ain't born yet.
Yep.
They'll try to say, "Oh, it can't feel pain" and all this other stuff. Well, I mean, all we would literally have to do is like put a born human being into a state to where they couldn't feel pain, maybe through like morphine or something like that, and then take them out. That would literally be no different.
Exactly. Like you have the doctors. First of all, I had posted something not long ago. doctors really aren't sure when it comes to, they've only studied it really in animals. It would be inhumane for them to study it on people to find out when a human fetus actually feels pain, because in order to do that, they would have to cause that human fetus pain, and the law is against it. The law is against causing any human being pain. So in order for them to do an accurate test on when a human fetus can feel pain, they would actually have to cause it, which is inhumane. So there is no infallible proof, 100% consensus on when a human baby can feel pain. So they can say, okay, they feel pain after 20 weeks, but you really don't know, because you're not allowed by law to conduct tests in that manner. You're able to do it on dogs, you're able to do it on mice and other animals, but you cannot do it on humans. So pain should not be a factor on whether you can take someone's life, because just like I wrote the other day, that means people may or may not be aware of pain when they're asleep, or when they're in a coma, or when they're severely mentally retarded. And I know that there's a, I forgot what the disorder is. The people who can't feel pain, they have either a low tolerance of pain, or their pain sensors don't work. Does that mean that we just go out and kill them because they're non-sentient? That doesn't make any sense. These people literally have no feeling of pain whatsoever. So we just might as well take them out of here like a unborn child. It makes no sense. That cannot be a factor. First of all, there should be no factors when it comes to abortion. It's gross. It's barbaric. So that there is no factor, even when it comes to an ectopic pregnancy. With an ectopic pregnancy, if the woman's life is in danger, that's not an abortion, but every step should be taken to make sure that the child survives. When what is it called? There's a medicine that they give you when you're pregnant with an ectopic pregnancy, and that causes the fetus to die inside of you. That's murder. That's killing your unborn child. And then you have where they remove the tube with the unborn child, where the unborn child dies naturally. So, I mean, I kind of like struggle with this, because I myself, even if I was pregnant with an ectopic pregnancy, I died before I would even get the surgery, or before I would even take a pill, because there are no exceptions for me when it comes to taking a life. I would not have the surgery, and I wouldn't take the pill. So
that's right.
I'm not going to say, okay, in order for me to live, this child may die, because even in the case of an ectopic pregnancy, why does this child have to die so that I could? That's child sacrifice.
That's right.
God said, thou shalt not kill. He didn't say, okay, well, if you're in this situation, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to take an innocent life. Thou shalt not kill. They're like, okay, well, you can't be pro-life, and you can't and be for, wars or what have you. But there's rules in the scriptures for even wars. That's another topic, though. But when you take innocent human life, which is the most vulnerable among us, and you say this child has to die in order that I might live, that's child sacrifice. There's no other way around it. I don't care. Women, they have their issues. They say, okay, well, this baby would have caused me to bleed out or what have you. But when you're presented with an ectopic pregnancy, the doctor monitors you, and they see, okay, well, is the pregnancy progressing? And a lot of times ectopic pregnancies, they may resolve themselves, which means the fetus will pass, and then they're able to, take the baby out after it has passed. But a lot of times, women just say, okay, well, it's an ectopic, let me remove it. When you're thinking about a life, what is your reason for removing that unborn child? Because you just decided, or because you had to? There are medical situations where you're rushed to the hospital and they have to do what they have to do. But to save a life and to protect life, every effort should be made to protect that unborn child, just as you would protect yourself. You're treating that child just like any other human being walking around.
That's absolutely right. And the problem is, even if we were to suggest that, like, well, and I put this point to them all the time, and I say, well, let's say I grant you for that one case, that we allow the intentional killing, Even if I grant you that one case, what does that have to do with saying that magically means that you should be able to kill in any other case for any reason, just for pure convenience? What does that have to do with anything? That don't magically extrapolate to that at all. And most of them be like, well, you're absolutely right. It doesn't. Okay, then why the heck did you bring it up then?
Exactly.
You're just trying to exploit the case and trying to manipulate people's heartstrings and lead them down a rabbit trail. That's all it's about.
I think what annoys me are the stupid women, the stupid perverts that come on and they say, well, they talk about their pads and their tampons and their menstrual cycles like it's, I mean, they're just really, they really have no truth about them, and they think that there's, when a fertilized egg passes through your menstrual cycle, they're like, okay, well, isn't that murder? And I'm like, how old are you? Are you 4? Like, I'm like, hold on, is this grown women saying this?
Yeah, like a passive, spontaneous, non-caused by you. Non-caused by you is the same as an intentional killing. Come on.
The nature is God. I call it nature, but God gave us a beautiful, beautiful thing called nature. And nature will 9 times out of 10 resolve itself without any help from us. Nature's going to do what nature's going to do.
That's right.
So if a woman's, I'll say if a woman's womb, I'll call it hostile because it's the most hostile place on earth, because we try to fight the sperm and everything. It's just really hostile in there. So a woman's womb is the most hostile place on earth. And then you have this baby who has fought all the way through to and finally implanted itself, and it's there, but you have a womb that's not prepared for it. So they're like, okay, well, God is causing all these babies to die. Hold up, wait a minute. We're not going to do that, because a lot of the diseases and problems that we have in man today are man-made.
Yep.
So you can't blame something. We have bombs dropping. We putting things in our food. We're putting things. I mean, we're inhaling stuff, and then you're like, okay, well, why do we have so many people dying and why so many diseases that we didn't have, years ago? Because of man. Because man thinks that he is God, and he wants to start playing around with things, and we're suffering for it. So you can't say, oh, well, why did God allow this to happen? Hold on, let me stop you right there. God gives us choice. So everybody's pro-choice in that matter. So God gives us choice, and he says, okay, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. You can do whatever you want. You just won't be with me if you choose. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody has a choice, but we're charged as children of God. We're charged as followers of Christ to put people on the straight and narrow. If you see one of your brethren falling and you stand back and you do nothing about it, you're going to be judged according to that deed.
Amen. That's right.
They say, okay, well, you shouldn't judge. What, you shouldn't have a thought in your head? You should be a marionette and have somebody else controlling you? No, everyone judges. So we're charged to do this. You can get upset if you want to. If I see one of my children playing with fire, I'm going to say, oh, you know what? Do your thing. I'm not going to judge you. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so if I see one of my brethren falling, because we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, if I see one of them falling, I'm going to say what I need to say, because I'm charged to do that as a follower of Christ. I'm not just going to sit and keep my mouth shut. And a lot of times they don't like you putting the scripture in it. They don't like you putting God in it. Listen, you're free to go join a godless group. You're free to go join an atheist group. But while you are here in our house, while we are talking about God and his graces, you will listen to it. You don't like it? Close your ears, shut your eyes, like you do with everything in life.
And you know what? That's absolutely right. You know what? They conveniently leave out the scripture. They like to cherry pick and twist things, but they leave out John 7:24, which says, judge with righteous judgment.
Exactly.
Right? And there's a time to where you can and cannot judge. You cannot judge in sin. That's the problem. And like, judge, let's not ye be judged. I mean,
exactly. And I actually had to explain that scripture to somebody. Judge not lest ye be judged. Okay. So that they're thinking that means to not judge anyone. No. That's not what that means. If you judge someone, let's say you're judging someone for smoking and you go right back and smoke, you're going to be judged with the same thing that that person is judged with. You're not exempt from judgment. So you can be a hypocrite while you're judging. Don't be a hypocrite. If you tell somebody not to do something, then you need to also live by that same rule. So that's what it means. Judge not, lest ye be judged. When you judge somebody on something, you better make for darn sure that your life is right in that particular thing that you're calling them on before you do it. Because we have a lot of hypocritical people that'll tell people not to do something and don't have a problem doing it themselves. That's what that scripture stands for.
That's absolutely right. And man, this is such an amazing conversation, but unfortunately I gotta end this hangout because I got some stuff I gotta do. I hope to talk to you sometime real soon. I'll be doing another hangout later tonight. If you'll probably be in, sometime later on, because I live in Central Time Zone here in the Midwest, so
I'm on East Coast. Tonight is my Sabbath, so when the sun goes down tonight is my Sabbath until tomorrow. So can I do this? I don't know. I don't think so. It's not work, so I don't know why not.
Okay. Well, I'll be doing a lot more of these. So whether it be tonight or maybe tomorrow or sometime later in the week or whatever, yeah, I'll definitely be seeing you again real soon.
Definitely, we need to do this definitely more often because we can share a lot of different things, especially with my notes, and we can talk about scripture, and because a lot of times they'll say God condones abortion, so we can definitely touch on Numbers 5 when we talk again because that's so.
Hey man, I'd love to talk about that. Well, thank you so much for coming, Tika, and
right.
God bless you and everything you do. And you have a beautiful baby, and you're a fantastic mother, I can tell.
Thank you. All right, God bless, brother.
God bless you too. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be doing a hangout later tonight, and again, thanks for watching. God bless. See you later.